Hello and welcome to the Chicane Podcast, where we discuss all things in the sim racing world. I'm your host, Jason Rivera, and I'm joined here by Mr. Jeff Smart. How are you doing today, sir?
Yo, Jason, I'm hype, man. Been in the rig a bunch this week, driving my new car, the F4 car. Moved up a class, dude. I'm ready to get into it today, man. Ready to get into it.
Hell yeah, man. I've been on the returning from vacation mode where I'm still not here and I'm still over in Europe, and then the games are on, and I don't know. I've been on the WRC a little bit. That's streamed that earlier today. And I noticed that you've been hard on the iRacing lately, like way harder than ever, dude. You're
Yeah,
putting this time.
if there was only somebody that was telling me about this months ago to get into it.
I know, right? Shame.
Yeah, man,
and
it's a
agony.
blast. It's a blast racing other people. Any times. It's awesome.
Okay, but Jeff, just don't forget that iRacing isn't the only platform for that. I mean, just saying, I know it's hard to get an LFM license, and probably our listeners are some of you, hopefully all of you have a license, and if you don't give up. It's worth it. But F1 is Jeff's thing, and iRacing seems to be satisfying all corners of the F1 drug, if you may.
Yeah, man, I kind of do like binge games at times. Like I don't jump around from game to game to game. I'll spend 3 hard weeks grinding in one of the games or one car, and then jump to totally different. Like you were just talking about it. Been jumping in WRC lately. Yeah, I do the same thing, but just I'll stick in something. Once I find something, I'm gonna grind it out and
See, that's the better way to go
it.
about things, man.
Kind of better. It's a way.
Really, I
Not
think
the
it's
way.
better. Honestly, it's better because, I can't be a master at something if I keep doing all of the things. You know what I mean? I can't master one thing. I'm like a jack of all trades, man.
That's what I've found too, is when you enjoy a little bit of everything, it's hard to be super competitive in one of them.
Right. You go against somebody that's like, he's been on the track all morning, all day, all week, all month in some cases. And then you're just trying to go in there and like, all right, man, let me see. What's my lap times? And you're like, damn, like, how can I,
Yeah, like that dude's got his breaking points down to like the inch.
Right.
Where he's hitting that spot. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to compete with that when you enjoy a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah, and I'm hearing that you did really well in the rookie class. So congratulations. Yeah. And I'm really telling you this because a lot of people get stuck in the rookies, man. They don't ever leave because they get into wrecks or they push too hard. You held your composture, you were safe, and you were also fast. So I mean, that's kind of impressive. So
thanks, man. I am for those that are listening, I don't think I had this last time we were recording, but I am the newest D license holder in the Formula class for iRacing. So yeah, it's awesome.
Nice and shiny.
Dude,
it's nice and shiny.
That F4 car is head and shoulders above the CV and what is it, the FF 1600? I mean, like head and shoulders. Totally
the
different.
1600 or something like that. It has no downforce. You
Zero.
said, right?
Like they even advertise it as 0 downforce.
It looks like it looks like a toy, man.
It looks like a soapbox car that they do that downhill stuff in, with it just gravity and they just let the brake off and fastest one to the finish. Yeah, it looks like that, but it's got a little like 1600cc motor on the back, little big lawnmower engine. But it's fun. It was fun.
I actually
it's
had
great
fun.
Wheel-to-wheel racing.
Yeah, I actually had fun racing with you the other day. We got on track together. I think it was a practice round, and that was fun. This dude wrecked in front of Jeff's car, and Jeff dodges him, and I'm like, oh snap! The car's like coming right at me. It's
flipped over you.
And just like, those little things.
My head.
Yeah, I was like, dude, I almost hit this guy. Like. But anyway,
right, we got some good stuff today.
Yes, we do. Today is actually a part 2 of the hardware tools that are commonly used in sim racing. And the purpose of all these episodes are to make sure that we cover as many questions you may or may not have, right? So feel free The podcast has an email now. It's called the Chicane Podcast at gmail.com, which you can email your questions, comments, concerns, or stories. I want to hear all of it. We all want to hear all of it, and we'll read them here live on the very next, the very next time we get into the studio.
Yeah,
So with
absolutely. Tell us your story. We
yeah,
want to hear, how you got into, sim racing. You got any questions? We'll try to help you out. Yeah, just tell us your story. Tell us you're listening, what we're doing, what we can improve on.
yeah, because we can all learn from it. We're still learning. It's not like we're gonna sit here on a high horse saying that we know everything. This is still a growing community. It's a learning curve, and things change constantly, and we're trying to keep up with it. And that is one of the reasons why the podcast exists, right? So, without further ado, I'm going to open up the first tool that's on our list today, or the second half, right? Is wind simulators. So wind simulators simulate wind, right? So you'll have typically two. They look like, what do you call those tubes, Jeff? They look
They're like
like
mini AC ducts.
yeah, like washing machine tubes or something
Yeah,
like
yeah. A little
that.
smaller, maybe like what, 3.5 inches in diameter or so?
Yeah, and then it has like a PC fan attached to one end of it, and then just a simple control board that controls the fan and the speed. And again, Sim Hub, which we're going to cover. We're cooking the pots up to get Sim Hub ready. Sim Hub is the master controller to everything. For me, it is awesome, Jeff. You have an AC system inside your rig. Literally, you turn the engine on, and I set mines to idle at 10, whatever level. You got to play around with it based on the model you get. And it just constantly blows air, kind of like an AC. And then when you speed up, it throws more air, and when you go into the turns, it actually changes the wind direction. So the wind will blow from one side. If you're turning right, then it'll blow. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, so that's why they have the two ducts. Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah, and drafting. So SimHub has a mode called draft mode. So when you're directly behind a car, you could set the intensity. I set mine at 100%. So what that means is if I'm behind the car, I get no wind whatsoever. But the minute I go for an overtake, I just get hit by a damn storm in my face of wind to
Okay.
simulate speed. It's kind of like yeah. I see you thinking about it. I'm like,
Yeah,
hey,
that's pretty
man.
rad. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, man. It is, again, none of these tools are really necessary, but they help with immersion. And for me, they're invaluable because they keep me cool in the rig. The rig is hot, even though I have central AC in the house, thank God. And then I also have a fan above my rig, and still, having 332 inches and a PC in the back, it will get hot. Doesn't
That's
matter
a good
what you
point
do.
because yeah, I do. I have my rig in a little small bedroom, and I do have an air, central air in here, but it does get warm, and I still have a fan overhead, and it still gets hot. So at a minimum, I might have to look in that just to keep it cool. Hey, I got a question for you. Do you have different settings, or do you notice an immersion difference when you're in a Formula car that, i.e., doesn't have a windshield versus like a GT3 car, that is more of your traditional car?
That's the only limitation, is that
Okay.
you can disable whatever you want telemetry wise, but like for truck simming, I drive a truck. I don't set the fans to blow at full blast when the truck reaches, I don't know, 60 miles an hour, because it's just not realistic. So the only thing I leave on is that constant AC blowing, because if you're in a truck, you know you're gonna have AC on. I hope you do. So, but
I,
I hear what you're saying. You know
No,
what I
it's just,
mean?
I mean, I imagine, never driven a GT3 car on the road, but I imagine that there's still probably some type level of airflow that comes through the car, or even if it's just the sound of the wind over the car. So, um,
So you're right about that. There is, and it looks very similar. It has duck system, but the driver has a full suit on and a helmet. He's not
that's a
going to
good point.
really,
That
you
checks
know what I
out.
mean?
Yeah,
He's
fair enough.
not going to really feel that. I mean, an F1 car probably be the most realistic because, yeah, the guy has a helmet on, but he's doing 200 miles an hour. He's going to
Yeah,
feel something
you're
in
gonna
his
feel
face.
something. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah,
But
I mean, I was going to
yeah,
ask you. I wouldn't put it past you that you have some type of setting when you're driving your truck that because you have a bunch of settings with your windows. You put down the windows, the fan turns on, or something like that. I'm sure there's a bunch of different settings that you can mess with that. But
yeah, man, it's cool.
dude, I dig it. That's you always say, "Oh, I'm done the rig. It's done,"
You're not
but it
done,
ain't never
bro.
done. I
You're
think
not
that's probably up there on my onesie twosies of things that are on the list of the next things you want.
right. And WinSims typically, I mean, 250, the cheapest one. The one I have was 300. I'd say pay the money, get the better one if you can, because you're only going to save a few dollars, maybe $50, and God knows how long that's going to last, and no warranty. So I've had these for about a year, I think, and they've been good. I broke the control box a few months back, and it was my fault. And I had to order another control box, but it was cool because it's a company, and I can actually go to them and say, "Hey, can you send me this part?" You know what I mean? I have this part broken, and it was like $50 for the control box. Replaced it. I got pretty demolished with shipping because shipping always kills us out here. But
Yep,
I needed it. So and that was the case right there, that I needed it. And yeah,
it
but
is what it is, right? You got everything else.
yeah.
You need the control box. You got to do it.
So to wrap up WinSims, they're available on Etsy for the budget-friendly ones, and we'll cover Etsy today as well, what it is and what we use it for. And then the one I have is from SRS, and it's called the Hurricane.
Oh,
So, all right, well, that covers WinSims. And again, guys, I'm gonna mention it one more time. If you have any questions on any of this stuff, I am more than happy. We are more than happy to go further into detail, okay? But this is just a quick synopsis of each thing. So the next one on the list is Hue Lights, and I'm going to give this to Jeff to cover. Jeff, please.
yes. So just to cover what Hue lights are, they are about a 6 to 8 inch LED bar that they come in pairs. And what they do is you can select a portion of your screen that the program that the lights are tied to will duplicate the color that is on the screen at that time. So what I do is I have mine that are mounted above my rig. So think maybe a foot and a half above my head. There's two of them. And then I set the area that the program the color it will read is so if I'm in my GT3, like the McLaren 720, I'll have it read the dash. And the reason I do the dash is because what I really want it to simulate is the daylight and the shadows. As I'm driving my car in the sunlight, the dash is bright and the lights overhead will be a bright white. And as I drive the car through the shadows of the trees, and that dash goes a little darker, the lights dim a little bit, and that provides a much more immersive feeling in the car. Really, where it really provides a lot of immersion is when you're racing at night and you're coming through the straightaway where they have the stadium lights. And as you're going through where it's light and then it
Oh,
goes
yeah.
dark, and then like a football field later, they have another light.
It's
Like
awesome.
you get the overhead, the woo, 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 as it's picking that up, and it's wicked. But through SimHub, it lets you set each car for. So if you jump, I have different places on my screen that it'll read the color. When I'm in the GT3. When I load F123 and I'm in the Mercedes, I have different places that it reads the light, and I have it on like the for lack of a better word, the fuselage of the car. Like
Right.
right in front of me where the halo comes down. So the
Oh,
light
that's a good
reflects
idea.
off that. And it
Hmm.
picks up off that area. But it's really cool when you're driving at like sunset or dusk, and you get that glare coming in off of the from the sun as it's low on the horizon off the hood and dash and then really into your eyes, is it magnifies that feeling. And you can see it on your arms like you would if you were in a real car. Like the light is going to come through the windshield and hit you in your body, in your arms, where this provides that light in the car, quote unquote, and it'll light your arms, your steering wheel and such. And yeah, it's all different colors: green, purple, red,
Right.
blue. It would come up as it displays, and the immersion it provides is next level.
Yeah, it's awesome. I
My
mean,
recommendation would
yeah,
be you really need to try to get a dark room to set your rig up
there you
in, and
go.
then I try to drive with the lights off, and then turn or the room lights off, and then turn the Hue lights on, and it really magnifies that immersion with the lights dimming, and especially like driving through a track like Monza that goes through the forest, and you get where the trees are breaking up that sun, many times a second, or many times through the straightaway, and you get the lights, and it just adds a really cool environment. It's pretty rad. It's pretty
It
cool.
is pretty dope. I ain't gonna lie either.
Yeah, and
So
like, go ahead.
no, please.
Yeah, there's a couple. I know. I think I'm gonna Govee is I think how you pronounce it. I think they make some products too. I got the Govee for my TV for some immersive lighting. I think you can do it. I use the Philips Hue Lights, but SimHub supports Govee and Hue. They might do one or two other companies, but my recommendation to anybody listening would be stick with those two. I think the Hue is probably a little bit more common in the sim racing world. I think it's a little more expensive, but if you're listening to this podcast, you probably know you get what you pay for in this world. Uh,
Right.
so I think the Hue lights are great. Good mounting options. We'll get into the Etsy when it comes to some of the mounting things later. Jason,
Etsy and
you run
SimHub.
these, right? You
Yeah,
run.
I run these. Yep, I
What do you
run
think? What
these,
do you
and
think of them?
I love them. So they're awesome. I've had them for 2 years now. I think that was one of the first upgrades that I did to the rig. And just if you're gonna go, Jeff is right. You can use Govee or Philips. I can't speak for Govee, but I know Philips, you need the control box. So make sure that when you buy them, and they're called the HuePlay lights, right? The play lights, I believe.
Yeah,
Uh,
you'd have to. You might have to do some research on that, but I'm not sure. But I think play lights or the Philips Hue lights or something like that. But you'll know when you see it. It's about 8 inches long. They come in 2-pack. I think you can actually run 3 off the control box.
but you need to get the control
You need
box.
the control box. Yep.
You need to get the kit that comes with it. I think it's called the starter kit. So I love them. They're awesome. They're great. They don't make you faster. Okay. This is a straight.
It's a good point. That's a great point.
You know
Yeah.
what? You're gonna see some crazy stuff if you spin out. It's gonna be flashing lights all over the place when you
Yeah.
spin out.
I got a quick story. So I was racing one of the the Assetto Corsa servers online. Where you're racing the Japanese highway system. I was driving some car at night.
Oh
Just
yeah, yeah.
hammering it. And which
The
is cool, right?
highway,
Because
the
you
highway.
got the highway lights, right? It's awesome. And then you go through the tunnel, and then it goes like a yellow light overhead, and then you come out of it, turns off, and then I was jiving and jiving it, in and out of traffic. And then I ran out of talent and I clipped the car, dude. And it was like, I don't even know how many times I rolled the car,
It
but
looked like a
like,
party. It was a
yeah, the
party.
lights were like, wah, 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 wah. But they're cool.
So
They're pretty cool. They're, again, not going to make you faster, but it'll make the immersion better.
no, they won't make you faster, but I do have one thing to add with these lights, and this is a recent thing. You might want to check this out, Jeff, if you haven't. But Daniel Newman from Daniel Newman Racing created a profile for these lights. And if you want to use them in a different way, you can have the lights flash yellow when there's a yellow flag or when there's a red flag. But to be honest, to me, the lights need to remain that part of being inside of a cockpit, like Jeff said, like Jeff
Yeah.
explained. You know
I'm
what I
with you.
mean?
If you want that, get the little
Get a
cube there. That
screen, get a
yeah, absolutely.
LED, get your
So
wheel to do it. So many different things. Yeah, go
so
ahead.
I looked it up here. It's the Philips HuePlay Smart LED Bar 2-pack. And
There
to
you go.
Jason's point, you need the bridge. The bridge is what connects to your Wi-Fi, and that communicates to the lights. You can put it anywhere in your house; it'll work. I think I have it on like the total part opposite ends of the house, and there's no slowdown or anything.
Right, and it used to be way harder because I remember when we were setting this stuff up. Excuse me, SimHub did it wasn't compatible. It only became compatible with SimHub recently, so we had to use the Philips software to trick the thing. You remember how we were moving the
Yeah,
we were
you try to have to
moving.
set.
Yeah,
It
you'd
was
have to move this
impossible.
icon that looked like it was like these two stanchions that looked like lights, and it was in front of a TV and in front of a couch. And
You're
I'm
right.
like, what the hell is this?
It's like maybe a half inch by a quarter inch TV on your iPhone that's
Right.
simulating your 32
Oh,
inch TV. You're like, bro, this is impossible. But SimHub saved the day as they do all the time with everything. So
yep,
nobody's
SimHub.
gonna worry about that anymore. SimHub saves the day.
I'm telling you, SimHub is the best $10 for a lifetime license that I've ever spent. Like hands
Yeah,
down.
yeah. I mean, you
I
spend
would pay more for it. I don't know why he doesn't. I mean, Nicola, the creator, I don't know why he doesn't charge more, but you got to respect the man. The guy puts his heart and soul into this thing. Every time Jeff and I get on the rig or something like that, every week,
you
SimHub needs to
update.
be updated. Yeah.
Yep.
And it's not just fixes, it's features, features,
Yeah.
features.
If you're
And
in the
with that,
sim racing
yeah,
world and you've
on a
spent
PC.
gajillions of dollars on a rig and equipment, pay the
Hmm.
$10. It'll be well worth it.
Yeah. And PC only, guys. So sorry with, I
Yep.
mean, it's compatible somewhat with consoles, but dude, if you're on a PC, 100,000%, you need to be running SimHub. Trust me. And we'll get into that. Promise. I keep saying that, but we need to get all this stuff out the way so that
We're
way we
laying
can
the
open the gate.
foundation.
Yeah, we can open the gates to SimHub. So that covers the lights. The next thing is these are quick. So types of shifters. Can you tell me about those, Jeff?
Yeah. So in the sim racing world, I mean, basically in the real racing world, you got kind of two types of shifters that aren't the paddle shifters. You know, the traditional clicking as you're on your steering wheel. You have your sequential, so just straightforward, straight back, and your H pad and your traditional, in your mom and dad's car. I don't even know do they make standards anymore or manuals anymore. I mean, it's like the lost art. I heard somebody was like, it's the best anti theft device is a real stick. But uh, anyways, back to the topic at hand. So some companies makes a shifter that with a switch that goes from an H pattern. You flip the switch and it goes straight into a sequential. So you can buy
Yep.
one and it does both
The
average,
combo.
maybe.
Yeah.
It doesn't do either of them great, but it does both of them okay. It'll pass for both. It probably is your entry level shifter
Correct.
that does both, and it'll be okay. If you want to step up into your kind of your next tier, and really there's not a whole lot of companies that are making the H pattern and the sequentials. Sim Magic makes two different sequentials. One is I forget the make, but and then the next one up is like a $400 shifter. It's got an LED programmable buttons and things like that. So you're really kind of looking at two different types of shifters. If your rig is kind of tight, you might want to look at one of those combination ones. I had the Fanatec one, and it did great. It was you drive NASCAR one day or one time, and you got your H pattern, and then you jump into something that has the sequential and just a quick switch, a click in the Fanatec software, and you're off with a sequential. But those are the two big kind of shifters. Not too much to add here. Most of the sequentials have a lever or dial that can adjust the sensitivity or the force you need to slam the gear forward and
Yep.
backwards. That can probably provide a little bit more of the realism and the immersion. You
The
make you feel like you're
feel.
actually in a car, like a actual car that's hydraulically driven, etc. Um, but anything else you want to add about the shifters there, Jason?
Actually, I do. So you spoke about paddle shifters. Um, I think I can't remember right now who makes them, but there's paddle shifters that connect to your motor, so that way when you're driving rally and the wheel's spinning, the paddles actually stay in place. Those are one type, and then there's a thing called the BHD shifter, which costs $1,200. Let
Jeez,
me let me yeah,
that
and it
better
is
make you
a
faster for that much.
dude. It is a real life engineered piece of equipment that's supposed to simulate what an H pattern is really like. You know what I mean? The whole big chunk of metal thing.
Okay.
It's not for me.
Yeah, not.
I
Maybe we have
it's
some
not for me.
listeners that can afford a $1,200 shifter.
I'd highly recommend
Go ahead.
the what you call the combination shifters that you were talking about, the ones that have like that switch between sequential and H pattern, because to be honest with you, those shifters are good H patterns. They're always great H patterns. But if you are a rally racer, then I would recommend a regular, just a regular sequential. And
Hey,
Houston Belt makes one. Yeah, go ahead, Jeff.
yeah, here's just some quick prices for everybody, and this is Sim Magic. So their entry level sequential is the DS 8X, and that runs you 390, 389 out the door plus taxes, VAT, etc. shipping, and then you have the Sim Magic Q1S sequential shifter that's saying it's 260. And then they have their top of the line, the Q1 long handle sequential shifter that's 380. So there's kind of the first one I talked about, the DS 8X shifter, is your one that can go H and sequential.
The
Um,
combo. Yeah.
yep, the combo. So Sim Magic does have two, and then their top of the line sequentials 380, and it's got all the bells and whistles you could ever want.
Right. So just do your research. I have a Sim Magic Q1S. I have a TH8 Thrustmaster six speed, and then I also have a Moza 7 gate shifter. And the reason why so many shifters is because that's my truck shifter. My 6 gate is on the left. That's my drift shifter, and then I
Hey,
have the
don't
sequential for rally.
yeah,
I
let that
know
sink in, everybody. Okay, the dude can
it's
drive a
not a flex. It's
sequential with
not
his right hand, and then gets in the drifting car and uses an H pattern with his left hand. I mean, dude, I'm not. I'll tip my hat to where it's due, and I'll tip my hat to when it comes to that with drifting, and you can shift with your left hand. That's pretty rad.
Yeah, it's not. It wasn't so bad. It was just because you know me. I love Japanese JDM cars, so
Yep.
I wanted it had to be on the left. And same thing with the e-brake. E-brakes on the left. But talking about e-brakes, right? I think we pretty much nailed the shifters down pretty good. So thank you for that, Jeff. So e-brakes, very simple. You have three types. So you have your regular analog, which is going to be just a regular spring pull action. Then you have your um who SimLab makes them. It has an actual rubber gasket that there's a name for it. It has a rubber gasket that creates force when you get to the end.
It's like almost similar to a load cell.
It is a load cell. That's the word.
There
Thank
you
you,
go.
Jeff. You saved me. Oh my God. How do I forget that? Load cell. And then you have one different e-brake that Sim Magic makes that's now a hydraulic, e-brake. They all do the same thing. Okay. You pull the e-brake goes. There's no really too much finesse with it. The only finesse is probably in a rally game where you're just on and off the pressure. So those are your types of e-brakes. They range from $100 to $200. You can get them on Amazon. You can get them on Etsy. You can get them from branded ones if you want. I highly recommend the Sim Lab one. It's kind of the all arounder. It's full aluminum. It's load celled, but then you can adjust it to make it loose if you want a loose e-brake, however you want. So, and then we have something new that just came out recently, and Sim Hub is actually the one that's controlling this peripheral, the belt tensioner. And Jeff reached out to me last week. He's like, "Dude, what do you think about this?" So let's hear it from Jeff. What do you think about these new belt tensioners?
Yeah, so let me just cover kind of what they are because I had been thinking about them, but I didn't really know what they were called for the longest while. So a lot of people think it's funny that, some people have the 4-point, 5-point harness in their sim racing seat. Um, and yeah, it provides a little bit more of the immersion that you're strapped in the seat and a little bit of tightness. But what these seatbelt tensioners do is they're little motors that are attached to the rig at the back of the bottom of the back of your seat, and your harness, your racing harness, is attached to the shaft of those motors, and it's tied into, surprise surprise everybody, Sim Hub and the telemetry of the game that you're playing. So what it really does is, as you're going down the straightaway in the car and you come into a corner and you hit the brakes, what the belt tensioner does is it will spin the shaft and and in turn tighten the seat around your shoulders. And what that's kind of insinuating is that you're being pushed forward and now your shoulders feel more stress from the harness. And then as you let go of the brake, the motor relaxes, gives you some slack in the seat as you accelerate again and you get pushed back in your seat. And it kind of gives you a little bit more added of the immersion. So, I had been looking for something like this, maybe as a little hobby to put together. There are a lot, I won't say a lot, but there are a number of plans to do your own, project when it comes to buying a motor, some type of circuit board that interacts with the computer, and in turn, Sim Magic, and you're going to need some software on there. And a harness that's integrated into the shaft of those motors. Then they make also a handful of these products from the industry, and let me tell you, they are not cheap. I was shocked at the price of these things. Some of these things are $1,000. So hey, hopefully some of our listeners got that cheddar to spend on seatbelt tensioners. When
That's
I
a
saw the
hell of a
prices,
dice roll. Yeah.
right, I was like, I'll build this thing. I can't possibly spend $1,000 to build it. It's got to be way cheaper than that. And then Jason, thank you. You brought up a great idea that you're going to be soldering, doing all this stuff to put this together, and then you're going to put it into your super high end PC, and one bad solder, and now you shorted out your PC.
You shorted your motherboard and everything
Yeah.
that's connected to it. Eesh.
So,
Yeah.
if there's anybody out there that has one of these that's listening, shoot us a note. The Chicane Podcast, Gmail. Let us know what you think, whether you built it, what brand you got. I'm
Please.
super interested in it, just to see firsthand. There's really not much out there on eBay, or not, excuse me, on YouTube on reviews and people putting them together. I think it's probably maybe like the up and coming product for sim racing. Maybe they've some been around for a while. Just not a lot of products out there for it. But like I said, reach out if you've got one. But they're not cheap. They run from $400 to $1,000. At that price range, I don't see myself jumping into one of these things. It'd be cool to try. I'd love to try one.
It is
but
cool. Yeah.
Can't spend the cheddar to try it.
I just feel like the chair's not moving, but the belts are tightening my arms. I'm just thinking, how does that going to feel? I mean, none of us are going to know, right? Unless we just straight up and try it, just like Jeff said. Here's my 2 cents, and we'll move on. If I'm going to spend $1,000, I might as well spend another 1,000 and just get a seat mover, and then just have a real harness, strap it up, and I'll move left, right, up, and down all the way. You're looking at one single action, and that is the tighten and the loosen for $1,000. I don't think it's worth it.
You bring up a good point, man. You're kind of approaching a decent chunk of that motion. Where you, like you said, you could get a couple axes of movement.
It's just one
that
axis,
cheddar,
bro.
Yeah,
literally.
And it's not even for $1,000. You're really not even getting an axis, if you will, right? You're simulating an axis.
Honestly,
acceleration and deceleration.
It might annoy the shit out of me. Honestly.
It might. You're right. Yeah. And that sucks for $1,000, right? Who knows?
And then you're stuck, right? Because anything you custom built, there's no return at anything, bro. So I mean,
Yeah.
I can buy this motor and probably pay a hefty amount to ship it back, but at least I'll get 80% of my money back or 90% of my money back than no money back. It's kind
Yeah.
of yeah. And unfortunately, there's no sim racing expos around us that carry this type of equipment that we can go and try it. So if anyone has, like Jeff just mentioned, please send us a note on the email. It's in the description of all our episodes now. I updated all of them. So those should hit your it should automatically be there now, the email to the show. All right. So the next one, and possibly the final one. Uh Etsy. Etsy is not really a hardware tool. It falls in the middle, right? Because you get hardware from it. It's a store.
You get cool
And
stuff from them. That's really what it comes
yeah,
down
man.
to.
So if you ever sit in your rig and you need something to hold your beer or hold your phone, then Etsy has pretty much you
They
name
got
it.
they got like 4,328 cup holders that can be mounted to your rig.
Yeah, at different angles, different colors, you name it. Yeah, if you have an 80/20 rig, oh my god, that opens up a whole different can of possibilities, right? Because 80/20 is a standard. Doesn't matter if you have Track Racer or SimLab. 80/20 is 80/20, so it'll fit, and that applies to any parts or upgrades that you want to add on to the rig. So that's just a quick thing. Etsy.com. Please, Etsy, if you are listening to the podcast, you need a credit card and a rewards program because I have spent thousands of dollars on, I don't know how many thousands.
Just to wrap, they have, iPhone charging mounts to attach the rig. They have, really the big, I've bought hundreds of cable management little clips that you can mount to the rigs and make your, the wires nice and neat. They have headphone mounts, steering wheel mounts for your wall. It is endless. Just go onto Etsy and do a search for sim racing and you'll go down a rabbit hole like none other.
Yeah. You'll want to scroll through the hundreds of pages. Trust me, because I've done it before. Laying in bed.
They got DDUs. They got everything.
WinSims, yeah,
they got all. WinSims. They got anything and everything you could possibly want. A lot of it, and honestly, is 3D printed stuff. But
most of it, yeah.
Yeah.
So that covers Etsy, and that wraps up our segment for hardware tools. I'm pretty sure we'll have more later down the road. I just want to update everyone with some news, and this is going to be a quick segment. But LFM just announced there's rumors and announcement that they are going to support AMS2. So that's news number one. News number two is that AC Evo pictures are flooded on the internet. And on top of that, they also created the Steam page for AC Evo, meaning the game is going to release this year. They're serious about it. At least in early access, they're planning on releasing it. So
those screenshots were dope. Epic. They were nice. Now, don't get everybody getting excited because it looks so nice. It's a rendering, got it. But if it's half as good, come on.
Yeah, I hope, man, they can deliver on that. You just never know. Look at F-124, how nice and beautiful it looked in videos. True. And
way to take everybody down a peg there, Jason.
So
I'm hopeful. I got a couple things that I hope they have in it. I'm sure everybody's got some things that they're looking for it.
It probably won't release, 100% good. It might take some time to cook up, but we have so many other sims to keep you busy. Just keep that in mind. Don't knock on it too hard. They're trying. So we'll see what happens with AC Evo, and we'll continue to update you. We do have a little bonus today. And Jeff, if you can just, I'm going to give you 3 minutes to put this out, and I'm going to give everyone a fair siren warning. If you're an F1 enthusiast and you have not seen the race this week.
In
And when
Austria.
I mean, yes, Austria 2024, you need to turn the podcast off right now.
And we'll hit you up next week. Tune in next week. We'll give you a couple seconds to stop it. Stop your.
Next week, we're going to go ham on this topic. So we're going to give you that leeway. So, Jeff, the floor is yours, our F1 expert.
Yeah, Jason, dude. And what a race. This is what everybody has been asking for since the Max Verstappen show has arrived. When he has been toasting the field by, 30 seconds. We finally, yesterday, got a battle of epic proportions from him and Lando. Went battle to battle from like lap 67 or 65 to 68 out of 71. Lando tried the pass basically in the same corner like 3 or 4 times, and Max shut the door.
Full
and finally,
send.
Full send, like all the way across the track, across Max's nose, and then off track limits and back on. Lando was coming home with the win, or he was coming home, a DNF. And ultimately, here's your spoiler. And in Lando's defense, I think it was a purely clean pass. He actually had him clean on lap like 68, and Max was not having any of it. And I'm going to call it how I saw it. If you're a Red Bull fan, you probably saw it a little differently, but Max wasn't happening to anything, and there was contact. And long story really short, they both got punctures. They both had rear tires that came off the wheel, off the rim, and they both limped it home. And I am so proud to announce that George Russell in the Mercedes took the W, baby.
And we got to hear. Yes, what did we get to hear, Jeff? We got to hear "God Save the King," bro.
There you go.
It's been a long time. Well,
it just wasn't Max. Was it the Dutch national anthem? Everybody was tired of Dutch national anthem on a Sunday. It was awesome.
Honestly, that makes a lot of sense. He would do something like that at the damn Dutch at the Red Bull.
Right. His home.
In his hometown.
Yeah. In all honesty, like it was a great race. It was what we were all looking for. I think George, I'm a mass Mercedes fan, so I like it, but, he said, you got to finish the race to win the race. But to those two guys, Lando and Max, they did a hell of a race, hell of a show. It was super entertaining. I can't wait for Silverstone next week, to see those guys on the track, and they're friends, right? This week is probably a little awkward in the group text.
Maybe a little silence here and there,
a little bit,
little quiet.
If you're new to the F1 world, like now is a fantastic time. It's been hard to be a Mercedes fan the past year and a half, but like they're getting faster. Lando's getting faster.
They're catching up.
They're catching up. They're catching up, and it's awesome. It's a great time to get into F1.
Nobody wants to see this dude lap other people. I hate watching races like that.
Dude, he lapped into like 15th. Or like 12th. That's crazy.
Yeah. And then,
it's a short track, right? But nonetheless, It's crazy.
But it's his track, technically,
Red Bull Ring, sure.
Red Bull Ring,
Shout out to
be fast.
Shout out to Leclerc, who pitted 3 times and still came in like 12th. Hey, Ferrari, get a strategy together. Come on.
Yeah, man. Russell definitely deserved that. He held his place throughout the whole race and saw the opportunity, and if they're going to act the fool on the track, then
it fell in his lap. It fell in his lap.
He earned it. He earned it because he told me, he didn't tell me, but he was on the radio and he even made it public. He not hiding it. He's like, well, I was there to pick up the pieces. That's what he said on the when they were interviewing him. So, it doesn't matter. We've had this conversation, Jeff and I. It doesn't matter how you start, man. It's how you finish. Remember? It doesn't matter how you start.
Yep. It's great for F1 because it tightens up the constructors' points because Red Bull got next and I don't think they got anything. So it's really tightening up. If you're getting into F1, now's the best time.
Okay, and with that, we are going to wrap up today's episode with that massive spoiler. And in the next one, we're going to go over this a little more, okay? Because there's some things that we want to talk about, but we're kind of running short on the time. So there's really not much of a round table today. We're short of man. So Jeff, I'll let you add anything if you have anything.
Just the standard: drive fast, brake late, team. We'll catch you next week.
Thank you so much, Jeff. And to all you listeners, thank you so much. I hope you have a great start of your week. And don't forget to email us at thechicanepodcast@gmail.com for any stories, suggestions, comments, anything, okay? And with that, take care, guys.